You've got the best view, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, hope you all had a great break, ate lots of pizza, drank lots of beer or water because it's still January. Now we've got Gavin who's coming back to kick off our second half. Gavin will speak for about 20 minutes, give or take. We can always shut him up. And then I'm going to show you a couple of really short videos, and then we'll do a fuller question and answer session of everything that we've just been spoken about earlier on stage, or earlier on this evening, including Simon on Skype and Gavin. We've got lots of Gavins. Okay.
Wait. Love it when these things work. Okay, that's kind of giving you a clue as to what this is. This is quite bright. When I take this cover off, it's going to be like some sort of radar in and people
Should I
no,
put the
like
lights
that.
out?
Sorry?
Will we put the lights out?
No real need. No real need. Okay, so if you are sitting there and it starts annoying you, move out of the way. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to have to deal with some visually impaired people. Okay, I'm guessing everybody knows what this is. Can you go back to...
Yeah, it was just from beginning, like what?
Yeah, from the beginning is always good.
Oh, see that button up there?
This one.
No, that one. Yeah.
Has anybody done that
Where's
at home
the
with the TV yet? Trying to maximise pictures and things? Just me? Okay. I am not a techie at all. Well, I'm a little bit more of a techie now, and I'm guessing there's quite a few more technically minded people in the audience. I'm actually a guide dog mobility instructor by trade. I spent 18 years training people how to use guide dogs. So if we go to the second slide.
You've got the doofer thing.
Oh, I've got the doofer. Oh, sorry. I was watching you do it earlier. So right now I'm having to work out how to use it. I just got backwards.
I don't know what you've done.
No,
Give me that.
I am not a techie. I should have said that first. I just pressed the button.
I don't know what you pressed.
So for 18 years I was training people how to use guide dogs. And on my website, and it's not just on the website, it came from in here, was the idea that to solve a problem, you have to understand the problem. And so therefore the solution starts with the person who understands the problem. Now a lot of people who are technologically minded or entrepreneurially minded, hey, there's me. That's what I used to look like in the old days. Thank you. Which button? That one. Okay, great. So yeah, that's one of my much cooler days, training this fellow in Musselburgh to deal with this pedestrian crossing. But yeah, the solution starts with the people who understand the problem. I was a guide dog mobility instructor. I trained people how to use guide dogs. My job was training the dog for 3 months at the last bit of its training, and then matching the dog with the person, and then training the person how to use the dog. And it involved me being out on the street with the person after they'd done a little bit of training in a residential training centre, and then watching them and then helping them get around some of the serious problems there are out there for visually impaired people. There's a chap called Chris Downey who is an architect. He did a TED talk recently, and it was he went blind when he was 33, and then he continued being an architect. But he said, if only I'd known what I knew before I went blind, I'd have actually been designing cities for visually impaired people and people with disability, because then they suit everybody, instead of having to constantly retrofit things like ramps and doors and lower lights and all these sorts of things. But what I sort of really discovered was that there were repeatedly the same problems time and time and time again that I was coming up against as a guide dog mobility instructor. And I was just thinking to myself, surely there must be a way of actually fixing these problems, and surely the people who are owning these problems have an understanding of why they're not working. Now, here's an example of where a problem might not work for a visually impaired person. Okay, that's Murray, obviously, as I've said. This is a pedestrian crossing box that we have, a similar one over here. This is, if I go to, oh, that's a guide dog, that's one of the ones I trained. Incidentally, does anybody know what this red and white bit means here? It means they're deaf and blind. That's a long cane, strangely enough. These are the other ways that people get around. Okay, so this bit of kit here is a tactile cone. Has anybody ever felt underneath the box before? Seriously, 2, 3, anybody? 4.
I heard it making a noise and didn't understand why until somebody explained that that was the purpose.
And everybody goes, wow, that's the most amazing, clever bit in the entire world. It's just fantastic. Because when the green man comes on, this cone here revolves. And the blind person goes, the green man's on, I can now cross the road. And everybody goes, isn't that clever? Isn't that clever? No, it's bloody stupid. Because the people who invented it didn't understand that they were actually working with long cane users and guide dog owners. And I did a presentation at Warwick University a couple of years ago, and I asked a room full of traffic engineers about who the tactile cone was for, and they said it's for blind people. And I said, well, sort of. It's actually for independently mobile blind people. You have to use a guide dog or a long cane to actually want to use a tactile cone. Who else is going to use it? And they went, oh, right, okay, that's a bit interesting because we haven't thought about that. Now, if you're using a guide dog, now, if we just imagine this lovely bit of grass here is the curb edge. Okay, so that's the street I'm crossing over. And I've just walked along the pavement. I'm going to show you a few examples in a minute. I've walked along the pavement with my guide dog on my left-hand side. The dog stops and sits, and I go like that. Car's going past, brilliant. I go into my number 2 position, which is the right foot back. I put a little bit of tension on the handle, and I go, right, and all I have to do is press the button and hold on to the tactile cone. Okay, wait there. Okay, drop the handle, hold on to the lead, and do this. Can anybody start seeing a problem? If you're vision impaired. Sorry to have to tell you, gang, but everybody in this room is going to be disabled one day. If you're very, very lucky, you're going to die healthy, but most people are going to die unhealthy. You're going to be disabled, and you're going to be aged. Sorry, it's a bad thing to tell people. However, it's true. If the NHS and everybody, if the government are lucky, you're going to die healthy, and then there's not going to be any hassle at all. However, chances are, if you're lucky, you're not. You're going to have to deal with this kind of situation because you're going to lose a bit of your sight, or you're going to lose feeling in your fingers or whatever it is. So this is the blind person doing this. It might be that is over there. It might be it's back against the wall. It's very difficult for me to get to touch that. So we'll have a look at a couple of examples of where our traffic engineers aren't really understanding what this is used for. I need to point out, it's used when there is no audible signal. So when there is no audible signal, how does the person who's visually impaired know the green man is on? Make sense? Sorry, I didn't cover that. Did anybody not understand that?
So why is there sometimes no audible signal?
Why is there no audible signal? It might be that the people who live here, probably because it's a Balmoral hotel, don't want it going off at 2 o'clock in the morning when a drunk person pushes it.
I thought you'd say that, but there's a crossing not far from my work where there isn't a residence within half a mile that's got exactly that device on.
And but every single one of them has to have this on anyway because the person might be deafblind. Which
doesn't make a noise either.
No, well, I know. Tell me, that's why I've got a problem with all these things. It's like coming up with solutions is the way forward. Okay, right, so this is Nancy, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about how a guide dog works. And then we'll see one of the problems that is something that really pushed me towards coming up with a solution. So, if I wanted to press play on this, is it the middle button, by any chance? Any idea? I want to press play on a video. Yeah. Any techies know how to use this?
Yeah, Alan. Sure, if you know.
Sorry, I need to press play. This is a video. There it is, there. I recognise that. Okay, so this is Nancy and Molly. Molly is a dog that I've just trained. Nancy's got an OBE, she's absolutely a superstar, this lady. Molly, she gets the curb edge, she does a right turn to get to the pole. Gonna love Molly's tail here. Well done, Molly. Yeah, I'm so happy. Nancy now presses the button and holds on to the tactile cone underneath. Look what the studs are here. She should be on the left of those to cross the road, shouldn't she? Because that's for her. Okay, now the day before when we did this, Molly went that way. Luckily, when Molly crossed the road this time, Molly says, no, come on, Mum, we need to go to the left. So she goes across the road and goes to the left. There is some sound on this, but don't worry about it because we're going to see other stuff that's happening. Right, so she comes to this bit of the crossing here. Notice the pole is over here. There's no way she's going to get to that pole. It's even on the wrong side. So I say to Nancy, so Nancy, how do you normally get across this crossing? Do you not press the button? She says, no, I just listen. Now Nancy's deafblind. She's like, listen, and I hold my hand out and I hope to stop. And I went, Nancy, don't go, there's a car coming. You will die. I said, but tomorrow you're on your own doing this, so I'm going to let you decide when it's safe to cross the road. This is what Nancy does on a daily basis.
Oh my god.
Daily basis. Now, my heart was doing that. quite dramatically for two reasons. One, because I knew Nancy was going to do that the following day when she crossed that road, but also because as a GDMI who's in charge of the lady who's just been run over, who's holding the camera, recording it, I'm probably in a little bit of trouble. Okay? Luckily, Nancy didn't die on that occasion. However, that's a problem. And when I showed that to the traffic engineers who were in charge of the city of Edinburgh, they went, fuck, we have got a serious problem on our hands. There are people out there who could potentially die because of how badly we've installed and put this kit in. Okay, it makes sense, doesn't it? This is a big problem. This is why it's a big problem. This lady here is holding on to the cone. She's nowhere near the curb edge. When she says forward to the dog, it's got to get to the curb edge and stop and sit before she even assesses the traffic to see if it's still safe. But she has to hold on to the cone back here in order to find out it's green. She says forward, the dog stops and sits. She says, no, come on, let's get going. We haven't got much time to cross the road. So what she does is she pushes the dog across the road. Now it's a shame because she's a Paralympian swimmer. She's one of the best in the world. She's an absolute superstar. Great tattoo as well. This is one on Princes Street, tactile cone. This is where people cross from because that's the narrowest point. So why are we encouraging people with disability and vision impaired people to cross from here? Makes no sense at all, does it? And believe me, there is a long way between there and where we want to be crossing. Now, if they're using the tactile cone, which they're not, they then have to go, oh, right, okay, it's green. Then they have to get here. Then they have to stop and sit the dog, and then they have to cross the road. Yeah, I'm going to whiz through these because we're kind of seeing a repeat here. Person walking this way, they want you to cross the road from here. How in God's name are you going to find it? But of course, they can't install it here. Whoops. They can't install it here because they've got a drain, and they've also got a problem with a double buzzer here. So there are problems that council have as well. It's not just their ignorance. They've got situations which are going to be really difficult. Again, this is down in Leaf. There's no way somebody is going to be able to find that, let alone use it, because it should be there. The reason it's not there is because they don't want cars hitting it when they come around the corner. This is one in Glasgow. As you can see, there's a little bit of a problem here. This is a control box to control the crossing. It should really be here. All the crossings are controlled by these boxes. You'll see them now that you're out. Whenever you go near a pedestrian crossing, you'll see these boxes. Sometimes they're against the wall, sometimes they're over here, but they really shouldn't be in the middle of the crossing. Makes sense? It's not just people with visual impairment. This fella, I was working with him. He was with a lady. He's got a big smile on his face. But he was working with a lady, walking with a lady who pressed the button on the other side because he's a double carriageway. He got to the middle and she carried on. She wasn't with him. He was then in the middle. He wasn't going to take a risk, but he couldn't press the button. He then had to wait until somebody walked on this side of the road and he had to shout to them to press the button for him. In 10 years ago, they took a study on people over 100. Now, after 10 years, there are 73% more people over 100 than there were 10 years ago. By 2050, we're going to have double the amount of people over 65. We're going to have double the amount of people in mobility scooters. We're going to have double the amount, if not more, people with other disabilities. We are going to have some serious problems unless we can come up with some serious solutions and have some serious understanding of where our adaptations are going totally wrong, because they are going totally wrong. Another fellow in a power chair. I learned recently, working with this fella, the tactile cones which are designed for people with visual impairment are actually sore. When somebody's got hyper sensitivity, if they're going over there in a power chair, it's actually painful for them. So it's a real challenge for them to get to the button. He would rather be crossing from here, where he doesn't have to go over the as many tactile bits of pavement. Again, he's got no use of his right hand, he's leaning across, he's going to fall out sooner or later if he forgets to strap himself in or doesn't strap himself in correctly. Okay, so obviously we've got a big problem. How much time am I on?
You're fine.
I'm okay, cool. Obviously we've got a big problem. Anybody think there isn't a problem? That's exactly the right answer. There is a big problem, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse unless we do something about it. So, how can we fix the problem? How can we make sure that that button, which is so easy for us to use, is easier for people? Now, it's just a button press. It's the simplest thing in the world. This is not a flying plane that's I'm going to climb in and go to the middle of the financial district in London or something like that. This is not a cuddly teddy bear or something like this. It's just a button press. It's just so simple to do. This chap here, a chap called Mario Shorbatz, Polish tanker, another dog that I trained, just for the purposes of this exercise, he is wearing a smartphone around his neck, and you can see there's a green man on it. What I did, bearing in mind that I am a guide dog mobility instructor, is I put all of the solution onto a smartphone, and it's probably worth just mentioning why a smartphone is a good bit of kit. Is there anybody Apple users? A couple of Apple users in the room? One. Fantastic, well done, Apple. Okay, you might not know about the accessibility. Anybody know about accessibility, voiceover specifically? Fantastic, you're incredibly knowledgeable. Okay, right, so if we go into settings on our smart...
Folder, 2S.
Okay, right, so...
Double tap to open. Speech off. Speech on. Screen curtain on. Productivity, calendar folder.
This is standard on every single mobile phone.
Business folder, travel folder, business folder.
So to go into something...
Tickets folder, social folder, forum, calendar folder, 6 opening camera folder, camera.
I use a double tap.
Text field, top of screen.
I can change everything around in this. So a visually impaired person's walking along, checking their dates, checking the diary, listening to music, communicating. We should be doing this. This is the stuff that we should be doing. Why not use the kit that they're using? Anyway, so what I did is I put all of that onto a mobile phone.
Calendar folder, 6 apps. Screen curtain off. Voiceover off.
Okay, so I've turned off voiceover and I turned off the screen curtain. If we now go into the app that I put together, this is a Scottish company. We're now installing at RBS Gogurburn head office, and we were installing at Lauriston Place, which is just across the way here. We've had some really good success just recently. As I say, it's a Scottish company, so it's not a bad thing to have success. And if I go into the app itself, so the person sets the phone running before they leave home. They're walking along the street. This is now looking for crossings. It's found a crossing. Press the button on the pedestrian crossing. Of course, I can go from here. Green man comes on. Green man comes on. Really simple, just a button push. It's just a very simple connection between the two. It's not using Wi-Fi, it's not using internet, it's not using data connectivity. This is purely the phone communicating with the crossing. So I then just start across the road. If I am in a wheelchair, quite obviously it might not be easy for me to get my phone out, so what we do is we put it all onto a smartwatch. So we've now got it. This is the first in the world, by the way, you guys. This is the first time it's being seen publicly. When they start the app, it looks for the crossing, the phone's in their pocket, they get there, they can set it to 5-10 seconds, they stand here for 5-10 seconds, it presses the button automatically. Okay, so it's a button press, an automatic button press for a pedestrian crossing. That's the one on the smartwatch. Crossing down, blah, blah, blah. I'll go back one. So we've got a button press on a smartwatch for a pedestrian crossing. But we could have a button press on an elevator. We could have a button press on a hospital door. We could have a hospital door that knows that we've pressed the button if we've got a disability. So, wow, if we can do that from here, and it's just a simple button press, we can actually communicate without having to communicate at all. And that's got to be a step forward that we can utilise for people who actually just need that little bit extra to become inclusive. I think we've got one more video.
Okay.
And it'd be great if I could make a bit of money at this, because ultimately I'd like to go back to being a guide dog mobility instructor, because it's the best job in the world.
The video on the slide.
It's a separate. It's on the Vimeo. It's the Vimeo video.
Yep, I've got that.
Yeah, no, I had it.
Sorry.
As I say, we're installing at RBS Gogurburn at their head office. RBS have paid for that. Lothian Health Board are paying for one at Lauriston Place. It's the first time this has happened in the world, so it's a bit of a step forward. It's kind of sexy that it's on the Apple Watch, I reckon, because it can be on anything. It can also work on any other device. Right, so this is a piece that the BBC did on us just recently. Have they got volume? Because you kind of need it.
I got volume.
No, probably will.
We've got volume from Simon.
I've watched it so many times. So I can probably do the volume.
Okay.
Okay, just press play and
Voiceover.
I'll speak.
You're excused, Simon.
I'll excuse Sam. Beep, 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 beep. This is shown up crossing the road, and it's done by a chap called Ian Hamilton.
What's happening?
You got nothing at all? Okay, not to worry.
Hold on. We'll fix it. Play it through the laptop. Sorry.
Guaranteed, everybody here, when they go out, next time you come to a pedestrian crossing, you are going to be looking for the tactile cone, aren't you? Everybody's going to do that, and they're going to go. And what I want you to do, because most people go, isn't that brilliant? What I want you to do is I want you to do this. Right, now, the green man has just come on. I need to be in the middle of the tactile paving to have the best opportunity to cross the road straight. Because if I'm 5 degrees off, and I'm standing here, I could be in the traffic. So think to yourselves, if I'm here and the green man has just come on and the tactile cone is revolving, how do I get there? Close your eyes and think, right, how am I going to get there? I'm walking along, I'm thinking, traffic stopped because green man's on, so I've not even got the clue. Where is it? My dog or my long cane aren't going to be able to help me much because it's really close confines. Which direction is straight now? That's hard enough to do anyway. I'm going to guess.
But one might may have come up with a solution.
Well, I start
And it's
again.
using one of these.
Okay, cool.
A smartphone.
That would be great.
Neatebox.
Neatebox. Got that one right?
When crossing a busy road, pressing the button and waiting for the lights to change couldn't be simpler. But if you're blind, trying to find that button to press can be your biggest challenge. And for some wheelchair users, trying to reach the button can be your biggest problem. But one man may have come up with a solution, and it's using one of these, a smartphone.
Neatebox.
An app has been developed for people with a range of disabilities to avoid them having to press the button.
The app is looking for pedestrian crossings. When it gets to a pedestrian crossing, when you get to a pedestrian crossing, the app communicates to the crossing, presses the button on your behalf, and then you just wait for the signal. It's as simple as that.
The system has been installed in this crossing in Edinburgh as part of a trial. So, does it work? And could it be helpful?
The pole can be on one side of the crossing or the other, and by the time I actually locate it and then get myself positioned ready to cross the road, quite often you've missed the cue to cross. With the app, you always will know. I always carry my phone everywhere I go anyway, so I've got the phone, so it's perfect.
Sometimes you can find crossings where there's not much room on the pavement, and the pavement has such a slope into the road, you're almost balancing on the edge, trying to press a button, stop the wheelchair sliding, and not get run over. So to have something where you can remotely do it is fantastic.
Gavin is in talks with traffic management developers and local authorities to see whether they'll include his invention in future installations. Ian Hamilton, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Company's called Neatebox. If you want to go on Google or anything like that, you'll see loads of videos. We've got 2 other products that are probably going to be quite effective over the next couple of years. One's live on the Royal Mile just now for tourists, and it's for every tourist. It's an inclusive app. It's called Edinburgh Up Close, and it's free. If you want to download it, it's out there, Edinburgh Up Close.
Facilities do vary, but on many larger ships in the Calmac fleet, like the Caledonian Isles, there's a lift to and from.
Anyway, thank you very much indeed. That was great. Thank you.